On January 7, 1974, NBC placed a bet on a soap opera that refused to play by the rules. How to Survive a Marriage was not interested in secret twins, amnesia plots, or billionaire love triangles. It wanted to talk about what actually happened when a marriage fell apart in America. Divorce. Custody battles. A woman forced to build a life she had never been prepared for. Anne Howard Bailey created the series with heavy guidance from Lynn Bolen, who at that time was the only female vice president in network television history. Bolen wanted a soap opera that reflected the real conversations women were having at kitchen tables and in therapist offices across the country. The working title had been From This Moment, and the ambition behind it was enormous. NBC aired the show at 3:30 in the afternoon, right after Another World, hoping to capture an audience already tuned in. That audience never materialized in sufficient numbers. Over 16 months and 332 episodes, the show explored alcoholism, workplace discrimination, and the emotional wreckage of a family court system that treated women as dependents rather than equals. Actress Fran Brill received more than 1,000 letters of condolence from viewers who genuinely believed her character's on-screen husband had died. The series lost its time slot war to Match Game on CBS and One Life to Live on ABC. A move to the 1:30 time slot in January 1975 only made things worse, placing it against As the World Turns and Let's Make a Deal. NBC pulled the plug on April 18, 1975. Days of Our Lives expanded to fill the gap. What makes this show worth remembering is the cast. Several performers who passed through this short-lived series went on to define entire decades of American entertainment. One won an Academy Award. Another became one of the most recognized puppeteers in children's television history. A third became the face of the most famous primetime soap opera ever made. This is who they were then, and what happened after. Dr. Julie Franklin was a feminist therapist on a 1974 soap opera, the kind of character daytime television had never attempted. She counseled her friends on independence and the lie embedded in the phrase happily ever after. Then, the writers married her off. Rosemary Prinz was 43 when she took the role, agreeing to stay for only 6 months. She worked 3 days a week and earned a reported $1,000 per episode, making her one of the highest-paid soap actresses of the decade. Born on January 4, 1931, in the Bronx, Prinz was the daughter of cellist Milton Prince, who performed with the NBC Symphony Orchestra. She graduated from high school at 16 and went straight into summer stock. By 1956, she had landed the role of Penny Hughes on As the World Turns, a part she would inhabit for 12 years. Agnes Nixon later recruited her to help launch All My Children in 1970. Her first marriage to actor Michael Toma lasted from 1951 to 1957. Toma died in 1982 at 55. Her second marriage to jazz drummer Joseph Patti began in 1967. They had no children. Patti died of natural causes in 2014. Away from soap operas, Prinz carved out a respected stage career that included 5 separate productions of The Glass Menagerie, including one in Japan. She originated the role of Malin in the first off-Broadway production of Steel Magnolias in 1987, years before Sally Field made the part famous on screen. She appeared on Broadway alongside Jack Lemmon in Tribute in 1978. She also played opera diva Maria Callas in 4 different productions of Masterclass. Her screen work was selective and late in life, beginning with The Bread My Sweet in 2001 and concluding with the comedy Humor Me in 2017, in which she played alongside Elliot Gould. As of 2026, she is 95 years old and lives a private life in New York City. The woman who played a feminist who gave up feminism for marriage spent her own life proving that a woman could work on her own terms, name her own price, and leave whenever she chose. Chris Kirby was the heart of the show. She was the wife who got left behind, who fought for custody, who entered the workforce with no preparation. On Valentine's Day, 1975, the writers reunited Chris and her ex-husband Larry, only to have her descend into alcoholism. It was a storyline rooted in a truth the mid-1970s rarely depicted, that reconciliation does not erase damage. Jennifer Harmon was born on December 3, 1943 in Pasadena, California. She carried Chris Kirby through the entire run of the series. After the show ended, she took on the villainous Kathy Craig Lord on One Life to Live, earning a Daytime Emmy nomination for Outstanding Lead Actress in 1978. Her Broadway career spanned several decades, including productions of The Cherry Orchard, The Little Foxes, Other Desert Cities, and Barefoot in the Park. She also performed in 21 episodes of the CBS Radio Mystery Theater. Her final screen credit was a 2010 episode of The Good Wife. She is 82 years old and has maintained a remarkably private life. Before Salieri, before Conchu, before Bert DiGrasso sipping wine on the Amalfi Coast, F. Murray Abraham was a young actor on a struggling NBC soap opera. How to Survive a Marriage was among his first television credits, a brief stop on a journey toward the highest levels of American film. He was born Murray Abraham on October 24, 1939, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His father, a Syrian immigrant and automotive mechanic, inspired the F. He later added to his stage name. His mother was the daughter of Italian immigrants who worked in Pennsylvania coal mines. Abraham grew up in El Paso, Texas, worked in a clothing factory, and studied with Uta Hagen at HB Studio in New York. His Broadway debut came in 1968. By the mid-1970s, he was working steadily in commercials and small film roles alongside actors like Al Pacino in Serpico. The role that changed everything was Antonio Salieri in Amadeus in 1984. Abraham won the Academy Award for Best Actor and the Golden Globe, beating his co-star Tom Hulce, who had also been nominated. Film critic Leonard Maltin noted that professional difficulty following early success became known in Hollywood as the F. Murray Abraham syndrome. Abraham rejected that framing entirely, saying the Oscar was the single most important event of his career. He married Kate Hannon in 1962, and they had 2 children, a daughter named Jamili and a son named Mick. Hannon passed away in 2022 after 60 years of marriage. Both of his younger brothers, Robert and Jack, died in separate car accidents years apart. He was fired from Apple TV's Mythic Quest in 2022 following accusations of sexual misconduct, for which he issued a public apology. In recent years, he has played Dara Dal on Homeland, voiced Khonshu in Moon Knight, and earned Emmy and Golden Globe nominations for his role as aging patriarch Bert DiGrasso on the 2nd season of The White Lotus. His estimated net worth is approximately $10 million. He is 86 years old. Ken Kercheval joined How to Survive a Marriage as the second actor to play Larry Kirby, the divorcing husband at the center of the custody fight. The show did not last long enough to reward his investment. What came next was one of the longest continuous runs in primetime television history. Born on July 15, 1935 in Wolcottville, Indiana, and raised in nearby Clinton, Kercheval was the son of a small-town physician. He studied music and drama at Indiana University, then trained under Sanford Meisner at the Neighborhood Playhouse. He appeared in the original Broadway productions of The Apple Tree and Cabaret, replacing Bert Convy in the latter. In 1978, CBS cast him as Cliff Barnes on Dallas. He was initially offered the role of Ray Krebs before being reassigned to the part that would define his career. Kercheval and Larry Hagman were the only 2 actors to appear in all 14 seasons, from 1978 to 1991, a total of 342 episodes. He returned for the 1996 reunion film and the TNT revival from 2012 to 2014. A lifelong heavy smoker who described himself as a practicing alcoholic for 20 years before getting sober, he had part of his lung removed in 1994 after a cancer diagnosis. He was an avid collector of Americana and reportedly owned the inkwell that Abraham Lincoln used to sign the Emancipation Proclamation. Kercheval had 3 children, Caleb, Liza, and Madison. He died of pneumonia on April 21, 2019, at 83, in his hometown of Clinton, Indiana. He was buried privately at Pisgah Cemetery in Vermilion County. His death was initially disputed on social media, with Dallas co-star Sherry Wilson insisting he was alive even after the funeral home had confirmed it. Brad Davis was 24 years old during his time on the show, a restless performer whose beauty and intensity were already turning heads. The soap opera was a brief footnote in a career that burned bright and ended in tragedy. He was born Robert Creel Davis on November 6, 1949, in Tallahassee, Florida. According to a 1987 New York Times article, his mother sexually abused him during childhood. His father was an alcoholic whose dental practice declined as a result. Davis left home at 17 after winning a music talent contest and went to work at Theater Atlanta. He later trained at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York and took the name Brad as his stage name in 1973. After How to Survive a Marriage, he appeared in the 1976 miniseries Roots and as Sally Field's love interest in the television film Sybil. The role that made him a star was Billy Hayes in Midnight Express in 1978, earning him the Golden Globe for New Star of the Year and nominations for Best Actor at both the Golden Globes and the BAFTA Awards. His performance at the Cannes premiere earned a 5-minute standing ovation. He followed it with roles in Chariots of Fire, the Rainer Werner Fassbinder film Carell, and a television Caine Mutiny court-martial directed by Robert Altman. Davis married casting director Susan Bluestein in 1976. Their child, Alex Blue Davis, was born in 1983. In 1985, he learned he was HIV positive after donating blood at Cedars-Sinai Hospital. He kept his diagnosis secret to continue working. That same year, he starred in Larry Kramer's The Normal Heart, one of the first major American plays about AIDS. On September 8, 1991, at 41, he died at his home in Los Angeles. His widow later revealed he had chosen assisted suicide, ending his life on his own terms while in severe pain. He is buried at Forest Lawn Memorial Park in the Hollywood Hills. Armand Assante's appearance on the show was one of his earliest credits. Born on October 4, 1949 in New York City, he was raised in Cornwall, New York, by a painter father and a music teacher mother who had been paralyzed by polio the night he was born. He graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in 1969. His breakthrough came with the Mambo Kings in 1992, in which he played a Cuban bandleader opposite Antonio Banderas. He won an Emmy for playing John Gotti in the 1996 HBO film and earned 4 Golden Globe nominations across his career. He took on the title role of Odysseus in the 1997 NBC miniseries The Odyssey, which drew 50 million viewers and remains one of the most watched miniseries of the decade. He played Dominic Catano in Ridley Scott's American Gangster alongside Denzel Washington and Russell Crowe. On television, he portrayed the international arms dealer René Benoit on NCIS and had a recurring role on The Deuce from 2018 to 2019. He married Karen McCarn in 1982 and had 2 daughters, Anya and Alessandra, before separating in 1992. He has been a landmine removal activist, working with the Landmine Survivors Network and personally contributing to detonation efforts in Croatia. He launched his own cigar brand, Ora Vivo, in 2013 and received a star on the Italian Walk of Fame in Toronto in 2010. His estimated net worth is approximately $2 million. At 76, he remains active, most recently appearing in the Amazon series Gravesend and developing a documentary about Vietnam War veterans living with PTSD. Fran Bachman lost her husband on screen, and the audience response was so powerful, it won the show its only major award. Frances Joan Brill was born on September 30, 1946, in Chester, Pennsylvania. Both of her parents had been part of the French underground during World War II. She graduated from Boston University and made her Broadway debut in 1969. After the show closed, she answered an ad in the trade paper Backstage from Jim Henson, looking for puppeteers, thinking it was a voiceover job. After a 2-week puppetry workshop, Henson hired her for Sesame Street in 1970, making her the first female puppeteer he employed outside of his wife, Jane. She created the characters of Prairie Dawn, Zoe, Little Bird, and Betty Lou. The character Zoe was originally meant to be named Franny and modeled after Brill herself, but she suggested the name Zoe after thinking of J.D. Salinger's Franny and Zoe. She also worked on Saturday Night Live, The Muppet Show, The Jim Henson Hour, and The Adventures of Elmo in Grouchland. Her screen acting credits include Being There with Peter Sellers in 1979, Midnight Run with Robert De Niro in 1988, and What About Bob? with Bill Murray in 1991. She retired from puppeteering in September 2014 after 44 years and returned for the show's 50th anniversary celebration in 2019. In March 2025, the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences honored her with the Lifetime Achievement Award at the 3rd Annual Children's and Family Emmy Awards. She earned 2 Drama Desk nominations during her stage career and won a Daytime Emmy for her Sesame Street work. She has been married to writer Robert Kelly since 1988, following an earlier marriage to Clinton Edward Ramsden Jr. She is 79 years old. Joan Copeland appeared on How to Survive a Marriage as part of a daytime career that spanned decades, but she was always a theater actress first. Born Joan Maxine Miller on June 1, 1922, in New York City, she was the younger sister of playwright Arthur Miller. She chose the stage name Copeland from a phone book to avoid trading on her brother's reputation. She was one of the first members of the Actors Studio and made her Broadway debut in 1948. Her credits included Detective Story, Pal Joey, 2x2 opposite Danny Kaye, and The American Clock, written by her brother, in which she played a character based on their mother. For that performance, she won the 1981 Drama Desk Award for Outstanding Actress in a Play. She served as Katharine Hepburn's standby in the musical Coco. Her daytime television work included Love of Life, Search for Tomorrow, One Life to Live, As the World Turns, and The Edge of Night. Between 1993 and 2001, she recurred as Judge Rebecca Stein on Law and Order. She voiced the character Tanana in Disney's Brother Bear in 2003. When asked about her brother's influence, Copeland once said that Arthur did not write parts for her and that she had to audition for his plays like everyone else. He always treated her as an actress, she said, never as a sister. Copeland married bacteriologist George Kupchik in 1943. They had one son, Eric. Kupchik died of lung cancer in 1989 at the age of 74. Joan Copeland died peacefully in her sleep at her Manhattan apartment on Central Park West on January 4, 2022, at the age of 99. Her niece, actress and filmmaker Rebecca Miller, is married to actor Daniel Day-Lewis. Her final screen appearance had been the 2011 short film Love is Like Life But Longer. How to Survive a Marriage lasted 16 months. It was too early and too frank for an audience that was not ready to hear what it had to say. Rosemary Prinz negotiated her own terms in an industry that rarely allowed it. Jennifer Harmon built a 50-year career without ever becoming a household name. F. Murray Abraham won the highest award in cinema and refused to let what followed diminish him. Ken Kercheval became half of television's greatest rivalry and was buried quietly in Indiana. Brad Davis lived with a secret that could have ended his career and chose to die on his own terms at 41. Armand Assante won an Emmy and spent decades collecting Lifetime Achievement Awards across 2 continents. Fran Brill turned a misread classified ad into a 44-year career shaping childhoods. Joan Copeland outlived almost everyone and died at 99, having proved she was more than Arthur Miller's sister. The show has no reruns, no streaming presence, no box set. It exists in fragments on YouTube and in the memories of viewers who were watching NBC on a winter afternoon in 1974. What survives is the cast. What they did with those 16 months and what they did with the decades that followed is the real story.